Hey, good morning. Today is Thursday, April 6th. Welcome to the stream. We're working on the background for the tiger. And good morning, Thinker. Thanks for showing up. As always, glad to have you here. So today, yesterday we worked on, I'll just show it. Yesterday we worked on the light side of the background right behind the tiger's head. And then today I'm going to move over to the right side, not the light side, but the dark side, where the tree is, and add in some details. I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure that this is... Yeah, but it's still pretty wet. It's very thin up there. What I added on is pretty thin. I'm going to let that sit for a while. Probably a couple days before I come back in with the sticks. Which, you know, I'll probably be done with the background and onto the palm fronds. When I get back up to the palm fronds, I can add in those sticks up there. So I will be coming back to that. And yeah, that's what we'll be working on today. What I need to do is I need to reset up my palette. Sometimes I'm always hoping that one day the burnt umber will not dry. Waiting in vain. And yeah, it always dries. Even in wintertime, you know, overnight it will... I mean, it's not completely dry, but it skins over and it's not good to work with overnight. And then I have this Williamsburg neutral gray number 2. Yeah, it's too thick as well. I believe that neutral gray, I read on it, and it adds some burnt umber in it as well. Now what's interesting is, because we're onto glazing and things like that, doing glazes, what you can do if you want your paints to stay wet longer, you can go out and you can buy some clove oil. I have this dropper. It's full of clove oil. There's actually a local store, like a refillery, that we have around here, where I could just get clove oil in bulk. But you can buy clove oil in these little, like essential oil kind of containers. And you add a drop of that to a pile of paint, and it will stay wet for like a week. For a long time. It will really stay wet for a long time. The only thing about that is I did a bit of research on clove oil, and there was some returns on Google that indicated... from, I think, some archivalists for painting said that they had a lot more trouble cleaning the paintings of artists that used clove oil. And so I kind of stay away from it sometimes, most of the time. So I am thinking some about archival quality within this. But we're talking about paintings that are, you know, 100 years plus, 200, 300, 400 years old, you know, this kind of thing. If my paintings actually sell and last 50 years, I would be really happy. Really happy. Okay. First things first, let's get some oil on this canvas. I need to oil out that top area. Let's go to the full canvas view. And actually, when I look at the camera, it looks really dark up in here. It doesn't look too dry from the camera, but it actually is. Let's see if it actually changes. If you can actually see a change when I oil out up there. So Thinker, you say, I found out that the chats are delayed. I looked at yesterday's stream after 10 hours. The chats were not there. The day before were there. YouTube must be checking the chats before posting. Yeah, they do a lot of checks and balances with a lot of things to make sure that it's okay. which is good. I'm okay with that. You know, actually, a few weeks ago, maybe a month or more ago. Well, okay, let's see if you can actually see that, or it's getting darker. Oh, expect the palm frond there. That real value is showing there, definitely. Just scrubbing in the refined linseed oil over this area, oiling it out, bringing back all that luscious color, getting the true value to show. So easy for me to get off topic. I'm going to try and stay on to painting topics for this whole live stream. I was about to go into all of the, what do you call it? Well, basically where, you know, the alternatives to YouTube where it's kind of like party shared, what do you call it? Web 3.0, I don't know, blockchain, all that kind of stuff. I was about to go into all that because there's some actual YouTube alternatives that way, and they're terrible. They're absolutely terrible because they don't do all those checks. So it's, yeah, it's pretty terrible. Anyway, Andrew Tishel just put out a video questioning the various steps of the painting process. Very interesting. Oh, okay, cool. I'll check that out. Questioning the various steps of the painting process. That's good. You know, I really like that he does that. We need to continually question our steps that we take for all the painting processes. It's so easy for us to get into this kind of mode. Well, this is the way I always do it. That's the comfort zone, and we don't grow well in the comfort zone. Okay, main goal here is to not make this dark color as dark as what we see in like the darkest dark in the eye of the tiger or the ear there, which I oiled out yesterday, so I can really see that value. Of course, on the camera, what you're looking at, it can't discern these subtle values as well as my eye can here. That's to say that, you know, it's always great to see artwork in person, because you will discern so much more than they can grab in a photograph. Definitely. Now, if you look at the reference for this image, this is our digital image of the tiger. There's all kinds of stuff going on back there. We have not only the stick that's above the tiger's head that I'm planning on doing tomorrow, but there's two trees. They're bulky, covered with all kinds of moss. There's kind of a branch coming off of one, and then the other one has a bunch of lighter moss and branches kind of sticking out from it. You know, all this kind of stuff. So there's a lot going on back there. And that's what I'm going to try and build in today. While at the same time, I don't want that to detract away from the tiger. I want it to be one of those things where you see the tiger first and then you kind of flow into the other interest. And the image, as I showed you there, and what I see on the live stream is a little bit darker than what I'm seeing on my iPad. So, and I liked it a little bit darker, so I'm going to try and stay with that. Speaking of darker, the first thing I'm going to do is mix up my darkest dark, and my ultramarine blue is just so darn thick right now. Just right out of the tube, it's super thick because it's one of those big tubes. Now, if you go through a lot of paint really quickly, maybe certain colors would work well for this. I mean, titanium white stays the same consistency, the same viscosity throughout the life of the tube of paint. But there's certain tubes I would never get a big tube in. Burnt umber. Now I'm not going to get a big tube in ultramarine blue. Maybe I would get a big tube in transparent earth orange because I use a lot of that. I really like that. But it seems to me that when I get closer and closer to the end of these big tubes like this ultramarine, it just gets really stiff. And the way I work at the beginning, where you don't add any medium or oils to the paint, it's really hard to work with in that instance. Okay, so this is the darkest dark, and I added a bunch of green to it as well. I wanted it to have it a green cast, but I want to adjust that whole darkest dark to make it lighter. What I'm going to try is I'm going to see what this gray does to it. It's a lighter gray, so this is the sorry, the subtleties and difference here is hard to tell on the camera. And I can always go to the palette to make it easier for you to see, hopefully. But the Williamsburg N2, which is the darkest neutral gray that Williamsburg has, is actually lighter than the color I mixed up. Not by much, but it's like this subtle kind of lighter color. What I like about it is a gray. I want everything to be gray there with a tint of kind of greenish color. But what I'll do is I'll come down here. I'm going to drag all this dark color down here. And then I'm just going to barely scrape up some white. Just a little bit on the tip of my brush. You know, like I didn't even pull out from the top of this white pile, just like where it's kind of thinned out. So I can just grab a little bit of it. Because when you have a very dark color that you want to adjust just a little bit, you have to just barely add in a little bit of white. But why am I adding white? Is because I want to keep it cool, but I want to make it lighter, and white is the best choice for that because it's basically a blue. Yeah. Actually, one day, maybe, you know, I am going to make that video on color mixing that you keep asking for, Thinker, because, yeah, I really want to do it. And the reason why I want to do it is because I want to try and create the most practical checklist for color matching ever. A step-by-step approach that is kind of foolproof, that will happen no matter what. Like you can match any color and you just have to follow like a very simple checklist, because I know it can get to that there. Ooh, that's really dark. Let's see how dark it is. Okay. It's very cool too. Okay. On the blue side. I'm not sure where to start here, honestly. Well, the one thing that I see that needs to be adjusted is our first tree, because there's two trees. There's one here. Kind of has this lump in it that kind of comes out and back down. That edge is not well described at all. And I believe it's supposed to kind of end here. So I'm going to start with the drawing, you know, the foundation. Going to keep it rough because the side of these trees are rough. In the jungle, we got stuff growing everywhere on everything. There's just so much interest in every square inch. That's what I'm going to do. And I'll probably zoom in, but I'm going to have to move the... I'm going to have to face the camera up as well. There we go. And you can see one of the knees. There's a knee back there from one of my figures on the figure painting kind of poking through. Don't worry, I'm not a narcissistic person. I like all my paintings up because I still pull information from them. It motivates me to feel accomplished in that way as well. So I got all my paintings back there, and it's a good backdrop for some of my talking head videos that I've done. So it's Thursday, almost at the end of the week, Thinker. How has your week been? What have you been able to accomplish this week? Art related or not? Still struggling with color mixing, color matching? I know, that's one thing we say a lot, and I see it on YouTube videos, is color mixing, not color matching. And it's interesting that that's the terminology that most people kind of gravitate to. But I'm pretty sure it's all about color matching, right? Well, anyway, just talk about your day or your week. Let me know how you're doing. I like it to be, if you want to. I mean, I don't want to have to put you on this. I don't want to put you on the spot. You're like, oh, no, it's okay. I don't want to share anything. That's fine. That's totally cool. I like it to be, kind of like our stream. Actually, every time I write about this, I, talk in language of we, and we've done this, we've done that. Sometimes I'll throw in some I's there. I did this, I did that. Making it more about you guys, less about me. That's really why I'm here. All right, and then there's this stick that I'm gonna go ahead and put in the darker value of it. And I remember now, when I was doing the digital version of this, that we did all this in kind of like a very dark silhouette. And then I just went over it with some lighter colors, just kind of turning the form of each of these elements. I was just thinking, a way to remove the time delay, Thinker, on this stream is if I just have you on the stream every morning. So all you need is a good mic, and that's it. You don't have to show your face. Maybe we could pipe you in somehow. I have no idea how to do that yet. I could figure it out, I'm sure. Let me know if you're interested in something like that. That'd be kind of cool, so we can have a conversation. What would be nice about that is, you watch this Andrew Tischler video that I haven't seen yet, and you could tell me what you thought about it, like the ideas that he came up with, like different things that you found interesting. We could have kind of a back and forth on that while I'm painting. That'd be pretty cool. Yeah, if you're interested in that, I would do that in a heartbeat. It would take more than a heartbeat. I would have to figure it out, but there we go. Ooh, I could I could have guest artists on all the time. Like people that show up to the stream, individuals that want to ask questions or something, you know? Like if Ula or Finish or Ashton wanted to be part of the stream, just, you know, one day, maybe on the weekend for Ashton because they have school. Yeah, if anybody's interested in that, you can go to my website, chrisbeaven.com/contact, or you'll see a link for contact me and shoot me a message. Actually, I just got a message yesterday from, oh, what was her name? Gabbing Gill, the painter, Gill the painter or something like that, and they wanted to interview me on their YouTube channel, and I jumped on that in a heartbeat. I was like, yes, definitely. It would be fun. It would be kind of like an audio Zoom session. Yeah, exactly. Just like audio Zoom. Yeah, let me know and we'll get it set up. That way you wouldn't have to worry about typing anything. We could just have a conversation. And you can say, Chris, I saw that stroke you just put down. It was terrible. Like instantly. Put teal there. Right there. More teal. More teal. You know. So the more I work on this painting, and, you know, there's a constant comparative against the reference image. I hate typing. Well, I tell you what, if you're on your phone, you have an, you know, iPhone or Android device, you could speak to your phone. I don't type on my phone at all. I speak to it. And it does the typing for me. And if it messes up a word or something, sometimes I fix it. The other times I'm like, it's okay. They'll understand. Try that. It's actually super helpful. I've used it a lot to dictate notes. You know, maybe I'm doing a daily journal. Sometimes I do those. I haven't done those in a while. Or scripts for a video that I'm creating, I'll just dictate to my phone like the idea and then go in and clean up. Or even better, you know, I'll dictate to my phone everything I want to do and give kind of an outline of the entire script. And then I'll ask AI to just clean it up for me. And then, you know, AI is a tool. You have to go in and really insert your humanity to it, because it always needs, you know, some help from the human brain. So I'll go in and I'll make some adjustments that way. Oh, there goes my palette camera. Still waiting for my new camera to come in. So what I'm doing here is I have this, maybe you can't see it, I don't know. It's a very splayed out brush. And if I barely tap the canvas with it, like I'm just kind of scraping the brush over the canvas, it will lay down a little bit of color and it will make this kind of stripe look to it. I wonder if I zoom in way in, if you can see that. I think I would have to pick out a much lighter color to differentiate from the background for you to really see the difference. And that's kind of telling, honestly, when I zoom in like that and I can't even see it on the live stream. It's like, why do I care about this detail? So maybe you can see that as I scrape that in. That's just a line I can cover up, but it has like a tooth to it. Actually, if to do that digitally, you would look for brushes that are called rakes. And they have a lot of rakes out there. For oil painting, all you need is an old brush or a really crappy brush, like some of those chip brushes that you get at the hardware store, and you can make, you know, very brushy strokes all the time. But I'm using that because this is a very textural area back here, and I'm getting way too detailed on this. I need to, let's focus on the big chunks. Let's bring it back to the big chunks. The big swabs of idea here. I'm going into my palm frond as well. Hey, good morning, Ashton. Good to see you. Or good to see your words. I slept really well last night. I hope you guys did as well. It's wonderful when you sleep so well that you wake up like you're... Like, I woke up, I was like, oh wow, I slept well. Like, as soon as I woke up, like, I opened my eyes and I'm like, that was a good night of sleep. And then I look at my phone and it's like 5 or 10 minutes before I need to get up. I'm like, wow, that's fantastic. The kind of sleep that you love. The alternate to that is waking up 5 minutes before, or not wait, or your alarm goes off and then you snooze it because getting up is like, feels like the worst thing possible. It's the alternate to it. And that's the 5th time you hit the snooze button. Alright, instead of going darker, I'm going to go lighter because I'm trying to get some transitions here, but I find myself dipping into my darkest color, and I don't want to do that. So, how am I going to get it lighter on this side? I'm going to add in a combination of white and some green. It's getting a little bit too cool, so I'm also going to add in some burnt umber. A little bit too close to blue on that. You know, more of a grayish tone. I slept horrible, but that's kind of the usual for me. Oh, Ashton. One day we'll work on that. I don't have ever have a good night on campus, but when I go home, I sleep well. Oh, okay. So, yeah, I could see that. Dude, there's science behind that. Literally. Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker, one of my most favorite books, because sleep is so important for me. It's really changed my life. But they did studies where people would go to hotel rooms or someplace other than where they sleep. And they found that they, you know, on average, many people don't sleep well at all. And it goes back to, you know, kind of how the human brain is wired for safety, you know, evolutionary speaking, where if we were sleeping in some different area, we had to be like kind of half awake all night because we didn't know if something was gonna come out of the bushes and kill us, right? But it's really interesting. Yeah, different beds. Not gonna get the best sleep possible on vacation, unfortunately. Okay, that's better. Really adding in a lot of texture back here. And I'm just being random with this right now. Just, I mean, bark of a tree is super random. I'm holding my brush like way out here. Like it's hot. Like the brush is gonna burn me or something. And it's really just, I can't get any control on the brush. I mean, what I've seen artists do is they'll just hold the brush down like this and then just kind of let it fall down and do certain strokes that are just completely random. That little squiggle line is probably too random. And I already have some dark paint on the canvas. And so what I'm putting down is mixing with that as well. So it's making some really interesting kind of transitions and tones and things. And then, you know, it's... Oil paint gets to a point after you have enough experience where it's easy to fix anything, to just move around stuff. It can be very forgiving, but I guess that's with any medium once you learn it enough. So on the Tischler video, he was doing glazing over a grisaille. SP question mark. Grisaille? I'm not sure how you spell it. Oh, that's what it was. SP. Spelling on that? I have no idea. Don't ask me on spelling. I'm terrible at spelling. And math. Don't ask me to do math. I'm a good artist, and that's it. That's really it. And I know a lot of tech stuff. And web development. And yeah, I know a lot of other things. But I'm not the best at those two. But it's pronounced grisaille, yeah. Glazing over grisaille. But that's a very atelier approach. So if you look at like the Angel, no, is it the Angel Academy? The Angel Academy in Florence, Italy, which is, you know, fantastic. If you look at, what's another one that does this kind of grisaille approach? Oh, the guy on YouTube with the big beard that I always forget his name. I think he's got like a Portuguese or Spanish accent. I can't remember his name. He does that, those kind of like old master kind of techniques where they paint a grisaille and then do a glaze over it. Yeah, I make multiple time through the night. Yeah, well, that's me too. Like my sleep efficiency usually kind of sucks. Definitely. But I always have enough energy to get me through the day, so that's what matters, yeah. Definitely. Yeah, it's so interesting when I sleep well, I'm like Superman throughout the day. When I sleep poorly, I can really feel it. Sleep is one of those essential things that a lot of people don't focus on. It's kind of... But I won't go too further into that. I like the idea of this grisaille conversation, because I have some opinions on that. And I've done some of that in the past, but not a lot. What's really great about it is you really split up kind of you split up the idea behind what you're doing into different chunks of, or different steps. And I do like that. So you get your drawing down first, which is foundational. You have to have a good drawing, right? And then the next thing is form, which is all about value and the transition from light to dark, the chiaroscuro, as they will say back then. And those are really done for you. And then you think about color afterwards. And you're looking at this complete kind of black and white painting that you did. You have a complete understanding of the drawing and how all the values and everything are set up. And then you just kind of glaze over it. You know, I want to make this lighter, make this darker, etc. Change up the hue for this one in a different way. These kind of things. I guess the critical question on that is, you know, why? I mean, could you do that at the very beginning? The grisaille was done on a copper sheet. Have you ever painted on copper? I have not, because copper is freaking expensive. I've seen, what's his name? I'm forgetting the artist's name. Oh, Robert Liberace. I've seen some of his paintings in person where he painted on copper plates. Again, this kind of like old master approach. They painted on copper back then. This kind of love for that old era is interesting. But the question I have about grisaille is when you have things, well, you know, the alternate to grisaille is alla prima. Think Richard Schmid, right? Wet on wet. You go for it. Everything all at once. It's more difficult, but it gets you to the finished product a lot faster. But it is a different look. Definitely. So if you did the same exact painting twice, you did one where you did the drawing, you worked with the grisaille, then you did glazes, and then you did the same painting alla prima, like right out of the, you know, every paint stroke right out of the tube, wet on wet, blah, blah, blah. Trying to get it done is within one session. Alla prima is really like a one session type of paint technique, but most people don't do it in one session because these are really big paintings. Unless you're really quick, like my friend Michael Orwick, he's like, we were chatting yesterday. He's like, yeah, I just busted out like 6 12 by 12 paintings. I just had to sigh. I'm like, oh my God, really? Beautiful paintings, landscape paintings. The guy's a machine. He's awesome. Well, anyway, you know, you'll have a completely different look. And it depends on what you like, right? That, you know, what message you're trying to get across, what look you want. Let me see if I can describe the differences in how each looks. Because I'm talking about how they look, but I'm not really kind of describing. Like, if I was talking about a grisaille painting, the first thing that I would notice is that it's flat. They are very flat paintings. They're not, you don't use a lot of impasto in those. They're very subtle. Stephen Bauman, he did some courses in Newsmasters Academy. He's got some YouTube videos up. I think Bauman. I have no idea how you spell his name, but he has paintings and drawings like that. Just very subtle transitions in values, all kinds of things. You know, kind of this very subtle look to everything. Soft and smoky. Sfumato, as Leonardo da Vinci coined, you know, this, which means smoky, I guess, in Italian, sfumato. So you can get that kind of smoky kind of idea with things. And alla prima, you get some impasto. Yeah, you could be very thick with your paint. It's textural, very textural. You can get textures all over the place. Which, you know, obviously you kind of know what, well, maybe not obviously. I need to stop using that word. you could understand like which one I would like. I like texture, so that's what I would go for. Would be the alla prima approach. It's John Singer Sargent, Soroya, Robert Henry, Akins, Monet, Manet, all of these artists. Van Gogh. I mean, there you go. There's an alla prima painter there. 2 paintings a day on average. Large paintings a day on average. Crazy. Amazing. So it depends on what you want. I think many artists today, it's, you know, kind of goes with the times. And I'm feeling this as well. Especially that this painting has taken so long to do. I'm feeling the alla prima approach, you know, focusing on the bigger shapes and more and getting away from this crazy detail and trying to get the impression more than anything. Yeah. I was thinking about getting copper plates to try intaglio soon. Oh, yeah. Yeah, but as far as printmaking is concerned, like that's something to try. I'm not sure how different it will be from lithography, right? Or litho. I'm afraid I'm gonna get all the terms incorrect and look like a fool. Aren't we all? Okay, these trees are looking really hairy. That one's looking really hairy. Why does it look hairy, Chris? And I know why. Because I have textures going left and right all over the place, where most tree bark, including these trees, at least from my reference, has some vertical, a lot of vertical strokes. So we're gonna bring some verticals into this. And I'm working in such dark colors that I'm unsure that you guys can actually see the details that I'm seeing. So sorry about that. One day cameras will be as good as the human eye, but right now they're not. Here's another tip for you, oil painting tip. And you can see it happening every time I bring my brush up to the canvas. When you work in such a dark area and it's glossy, you see that reflection of my brush? Like I keep wanting to like paint over these like reflective surfaces on my brushes with like some kind of like cover them in some way, because when you work that dark, I'm trying to make some strokes and I see nothing but reflection, so I have to make a couple strokes and then move my hand away just to get that glare off of what I'm doing. What's important about that, the reason why I'm pointing that out, is recognizing that it's there. The more you paint, you'll start recognizing these subtle things that happen when you're painting, after you're painting, you know, when you're mixing color, all the aspects kind of come in. I remember years ago when I first started oil painting, I didn't even notice, you know, all the glare. I didn't notice that, you know, the sun was backlighting my painting and causing it and making it very difficult for me to see color and value. Like I have a, you know, for this shot here, I have a light. Yeah, I'm pointing at it right now, so I could light this, well, this side of my face, so it's not super dark, because I got this like light over the top of me, so I got these kind of raccoon eyes looking things, so it's very dramatic. Oh, right? But the light that's over there, I have to put it off to the side, and the light that's above, I have to put like a mesh around it so that it doesn't kind of reflect into my eyes. You'll see a lot of artists, especially when they're painting outdoors, they'll have a hat on. And you can see how it, all this shadow kind of hits my eyes here. It allows you to see color and value really well. So if you have, peripheral vision from the top or from the sides or from below, light coming in, it's going to affect how you see your painting. So be aware of that. Like, and anytime you're painting, don't feel like an idiot if you're looking at your painting and you do this, because I have those lights and I need to do this sometimes just to make sure. The other way you can do that is just step way back. If I step, 5 or 10 feet back, that the same thing will happen. Being aware of the lights around you, yeah. Ashton, you say, but I think first I'll practice with pixel glass to get the hang of the dry point etching technique. Pixel glass? Never heard of it. Of course, I was doing printmaking back in 92. So I'm pretty sure there's some advancements since then. Oh, Caravaggio lighting, yeah. Very dramatic. Thank you, I'm glad you like it. I do like high contrast stuff. So at first I was like, I'm kind of lit in this, weird way. I just let my hair down and people would be like, hey, you see that guy on a live stream that kind of looks like Jesus? With the halo above. I kid you not. Story time. This happened to me. So, I had a kidney transplant. 2018, I had a kidney transplant. And, I was in bed for, I don't know, a couple days straight, or a day straight, or something like that, before the nurses came in and they were like, hey, you got to get up and start moving around, got to start walking. And when you have a kidney transplant, they, that was probably, yeah, they cut you open, in a big way. It was not a small incision, it was huge. And, all the way through all of your abs and all that kind of stuff. So sitting up in bed was one of the hardest things ever, but she's like, okay, you can do it. That was one of the hardest things I ever had to do, to sit up. It's like, why is this so difficult? Oh man. Anyway, so I finally got up and just started walking around. And I looked like death, I'm sure. Because I'm hobbling around with a walker in this hospital just doing little circles. And another patient walked up to me and she said, I don't want to offend you or anything, but I just want to tell you that you look like Jesus. I was like, thank you. That's fantastic. I mean, I would love for someone to say, it's wonderful, even if I don't practice Catholicism or I'm not, I was born Catholic, but I don't practice, to be compared with someone that has changed the face of the earth, changed history in such a huge way is amazing. But of course, it's just based on looks, not on actions. So it was kind of funny. Looked it up. Correct spelling: Grisaille. Grisaille. Never would have guessed. Yeah. It's definitely not phonetic, right? Pixel glass. Well, no, I still don't know what pixel glass is. Or plexiglass. Oh, yeah, plexiglass. Okay. I keep saying pixel glass. It's me. Yeah, the long hair does it. I won't go too much further into kind of religious connotations. There's certain things that you got to stay away from on a live stream, and religion will be one of them for me. I'll make mentions of it, but that's it. A topic that I am not trained in to speak well. I think many politicians should understand that and maybe shut up sometimes. Oh, there's another one. Don't talk about politics, Chris. Okay, we're going to get into these sticks here. Change of subject. These little pieces of moss-covered sticks that are just coming out of this tree, and really fun random shapes and stuff there. Just creating some interest. And, you know, I don't feel a need to copy the oh my gosh, the digital painting that we did before. It's like if I was painting a picture of a jungle right now, the tremendous amount of information that you would see would just be overwhelming. I mean, you have to find just the impression of it, the idea, and see that, and then kind of forget everything else. Definitely a good rule to have. I did the same when I used to stream. Oh, you used to stream. Oh, fantastic. I was just talking earlier, Ashton, about bringing people onto this stream, like in an audio format. Figure out how to do that, because Thinker hates to type. I agree. Let's stop typing, you know? It'd be great to just have a conversation with someone. Directly. I'm sure it would be rough at first, right? To figure out all the audio levels and all that kind of stuff. And you have to think about, okay, I like how this stick kind of goes down. I've said something like this before, but I'm going to repeat it. When painting branches, really look. Because I see lots of landscape paintings where artists will not really look at the tree, how branches flow, and there are combinations of straights and angles, like just random straights and angles. Many artists would go with too many straights or too many angles. The only way to get around that is just with observation. Yeah, if you're interested and you want to be on the stream at all, just to chat with me at this time of day, talk about your life, your artistic pursuits, because it would be all about you, as much as we can. I would love that. Just go to my website, which is chrisbeaven.com, and you'll see a contact page, a contact link, or it's /contact. Actually, in the closer for my stream right here, I have, yeah, chrisbeaven.com. So you can see all that. And let me know. And we'll get connected. Because, you know, the other thing I was saying was this stream, everything I do the reason why I'm doing all this is for other artists, to try and help other artists become better versions of themselves, whatever that means for you. Drawing and painting is all about observing, but I fight with my mind and what I think something looks like and just forget to look up at the reference. You know, that's kind of good in some way, because, well, I'm glad you pointed that out. One book that I love, and I talked about before, was The Natural Way to Draw by Kimon Nicolaides. Kimon. I think it's, I know, well, The Natural Way to Draw. Just look that up. And he has a wonderful way of all these exercises of pulling you away from like the constant observation of what you're seeing, because, well, let's start over in this aspect. When most artists, representational artists, start out, and this is, you know, the correct progression, you want to be able to learn how to paint what you see. Like, I see this person, I see this tree, and I think it's beautiful. I think they're beautiful, and I want to paint them exactly how they are. And that's how we begin. And it's good. Then, you know, kind of later on in the artistic career, and I'm in this mode right now, we start thinking, you know, I want to describe emotion. I want to tell a story. I want a narrative. I want, you know, what does courage look like in a painting? What does perseverance look like in a painting of a tiger? Right? These kind of things. And it's hard. It's like the next level of art. Like, okay, I'm doing really good with the observation. I feel like that I could basically, if I had a photograph, I am very confident that I could copy a photograph exactly. So I've reached that point. What's the next level? And that's when I really discovered The Natural Way to Draw by Kimon Nicolaides, because he has all these exercises to slowly pull you away from just the observation part and also into the subjective. Observation, the number one skill of representational painting. Yeah, it is. It's like the foundation. Yeah. Being able to, I like Paul Foxton, his website, courses and all this kind of stuff. It's called Learning to See. And that's really, you know, it's not learning to paint, it's learning to see. Because learning to paint is really a dexterity kind of approach. Not dexterity. Being able to put the paint in the right place, you know? And that is part of it, especially when your hands are shaky or you're dealing with a really small twig or something like I'm dealing with right now. But that's learning to paint. Learning to see is where you can actually recognize what you're looking at and then translate. The visuals come in through your eyes into your brain. You recognize what you see, your brain translates it. Hopefully, what comes out your hand looks like what you're painting and has an influence of you into that. So, and this is where like the hyper realism can fail in some ways. I'm really kind of changing my idea on that. Not all hyper realism, where, you know, they make a painting that looks exactly like a photograph. is just that one-dimensional. There's an artist that I was looking at, and I think I've mentioned on one of my videos about, about this kind of hyper-realism approach. But he was doing these massive paintings, these really huge paintings of like a little girl that was maybe his daughter or something, just super detailed. And when you see a head that large in that much detail, there's something more that happens with, with it. It's more of an experience more than anything. So in that aspect, it was fantastic. But then I've seen other hyper-realistic artists that do still life of fruit. And really, it's like absolutely beautiful, like fantastic. And a lot of people respond to it because there's a lot of skill there. But anyway, the purpose of this conversation is, or what I'm talking about, it's not really a conversation, is that you can get kind of stuck into observe, 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 copy, 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 everything, just making it look like what you see. Eventually, the goal is to bring in your own influence. So when you look at something, you learn to see it by copying it. The next step is your brain begins to translate and add in your own experiences and emotions within that. So, and it is a definite learning process. Learning to see. But you have to go through one to get to the other. You don't just, well, I could argue that as well. I was really bad at that in class. I'd be looking down at my paper and not even looking at the still life. I was such a beginner. That's what I've been loving about sculpture. I don't have to make something exact for you to understand what it is. Yeah. Can't wait to finish it and post it on to my Instagram. Yes, please let me know when you do. I'd love to see what you're working on. But don't lose, the influence. I was talking about this the other day. The influence of who you are. Many artists will start out. Finish is doing some really, and that's what it was. Finish on here. They shared some artwork, and the one thing I was struck by, and it really kind of thought, got me to think about my past, is I remember when I was first starting out, I didn't have those skills of observation. And I was starting out, trying to express the emotion that I have. And then I quickly realized that, I can't do that. I don't have the ability to do that. So now I need to work on gaining the ability. And unfortunately, what happened over the years of trying to gain that ability is I forgot about the original intent for my art, which was to describe the feelings and the emotions that I'm having. And thanks to Finish, looking at his work and looking at other beginners' work. Actually, I go to ArtStation now and I don't look at the top items. I look at the latest. And there's so many artists posting that aren't, professional artists that you just don't see on ArtStation unless you change the way you look at it so that you can just see, the latest work. And I see so many beginning digital artists that are painting their emotions, painting their feelings. And it's been so long since I've done that, I've forgotten how to actually do it. So I'm learning so much from these beginning artists, these artists that are at the beginning of their journey, are teaching me how to connect back with that person I was at the beginning of my journey. So yeah, get into the observation, figure that out, but constantly remind yourself of where you started and why. Keep your old artwork, at least in digital format. So you can reference it, you know? You can say, oh yeah, that's right. I was going through this really tough time, or this really wonderful time. I had just met someone, and I was trying to express that emotion. Or I just lost someone. I was trying to express that emotion. Let me see if I can do that now. You know, bring it back up again. That's what's really important. In my opinion. It's all my opinion. I like what actually one of the last times we were talking, Thinker. I think it was about you getting motivated to paint or not knowing what to do. And I had mentioned, you know, thinking about others in some way. How can you, because you know a lot of friends, everybody knows somebody, right? What could you paint that would just really make their day and just surprise them with it? You know, actually, this painting is for my wife. It will only be for sale if she wants to sell it. I love the idea of making artwork for others. That's why I've been loving... Oh yeah, the sculpture. That's really true. I mean... And well, it's true about any art form too, is... if you can get that impression and get that feeling, something I need to work on, I want to work on. You know, able to translate what you're seeing, the essence of it, rather than the exact replication of it. And for people to understand, yeah, that's a skill. That's the next level skill that I want to work on. Everything that I've been making has been about me and expressing myself. That's great. That's really good. And I know you work abstractly, right? And that's the wonderful thing about abstraction. Actually, if we talk about what I'd like to work on, really, that's it. I mean, I want to abstract what I see into something that is that thing, but maybe a bit more meaningful. It allows us to bring a bit more of us into the work, who we are. And I'm not sure if this stick that I'm working on here is any good at all. I need to step back. Let me see what time it is. 5:40. Holy crap, it's already been an hour and 10 minutes. Yeah, let me step back. Okay. I don't do this very often, but I hate that. I really dislike this. Here's what I'm going to do. Let me show you this, guys. So this is a glaze here, and it's on top of a glaze that hasn't dried completely, okay? And I want to erase it. Ooh, let me zoom in. Using those zoom capabilities. And then I need to... There we go. You can see that little stick there. So get a brush that you haven't used yet. A very dry brush, has nothing on it. No oil, no paint, no nothing. Well, it has a little bit of oil on it, okay? And I'm going to rub it out on my, over here, you probably see it better, to make sure that nothing is on it. And it will pull up the paint very lightly. I'm going to go over this, and it will pull up that oily glaze. And what it doesn't pull up, I'm going to keep rubbing it on my paper towel as well. What doesn't get pulled up is going to blend into what's behind it. And the trick to that is you don't just work into the stick area. So I had this little stripe that was going through. So you're changing texture. If I just worked like over that stick, you would still see a texture change, and it'd be kind of like a halo of that stick. So what you have to do is go over in multiple areas, even where that was not. Change some texture so it kind of changes that area just a little bit, but not too much so it's a big change to the painting. So yeah, I really dislike that. I didn't like, it was very distracting, so I'm going to do the same thing in here. And this is all wet. Just put it down, so it's going to be just kind of a blending in of the paint that's here. I'll keep some of it, like all the way down to that. Adding in some darker paint there. And I may adjust this on the next stream. But before I go, I need to knock down a lot of those sharper edges. Because I want to adjust this. I'm not really sure if I like the way it is. And like I said, if this dries with really sharp edges by tomorrow, it's going to be a problem. It's harder to get soft edges out of dry paint than it is to get soft edges out of wet paint. So do it while it's wet. And depending how you use a really soft brush like this, it can change how you know, what kind of texture you get. So I could wipe it up and down very lightly, or I could sit here and I could just kind of stab at it, and you'll get a different kind of blurring effect. Like this moss, I want it to blur down and maybe horizontal a little bit. This is, you know, if we're talking in technical terms, like digital terms, like if you're stabbing like this, you're getting kind of like a stippling effect, and it makes more like a Gaussian blur, which is like an overall blur. Really kind of pushing that back. I like what the tree I did behind it. It's just all this down here. I'm not really caring about it too much. Part of that could be I was so into the conversation that I wasn't really focusing on what I was doing. I used to be so uncomfortable with making art about me or personal things. It would just make things that look cool. I need to write that down. That's fantastic. Yeah, how many of us have done that? You know, this kind of opening up. You know, opening up ourselves in some way where they don't want to show... We don't want to show who we are really. Like, for example, it's really hard to sometimes hit the button so you can see me, right? And my cat tea mug. But that's the most important thing, you know, figuring out who you are as a person, and then painting from you, because honestly, let's think about it in marketing terms. This is what people want to buy, okay? If, they want to buy something beautiful most of the time, or something that has meaning to it, or something that touches them specifically, or something that is you, which is your style, your difference from everything else on the planet. So if you want to be like everyone else, look at a style and copy that. If you want to be like yourself, try and figure out who you are, what you like, what you don't like, what you like to do as far as art, what you don't like to do as far as art, what you find important to yourself, whether that's, in a very, one of those big topics like politics and religion, and you want to express your emotions in that way, race, culture, all these really, big topics, relationships, how you feel within that. These are those meaningful topics that a lot of people kind of gravitate to and would purchase work upon, because what you're describing, that the emotions you have, I would say everyone on the planet will have something similar. Not exactly like you, but very similar. And that's what we need. We need more of you, Ashton, and Thinker, and Finish, and Ulan, everyone listening to this right now. We don't need copies of Chris Beaven. We don't need copies of Andrew Tischler. We don't need copies of any other artist out there. What we need is more of you. So figure out who you are and then paint that. You say, but as my teachers force stuff out of me, I have been gaining the confidence. Yay, that's good. That's a great thing about, universities and school, is you get that kind of personal interaction, right? You get, and I think a lot of teachers nowadays will try and do that. I complain a lot about my university experience because I was taught from teachers that were doing very expressionistic, abstract, postmodernist works. The one thing that they were able to do was critique the hell out of my work, which was wonderful, getting that idea, and then also pull out, trying to get, who are you, Chris? It's not just, what you see going straight through your brain and out your hand and coming back out the exact same way it is. Where is the translation that's happening? And they can help you do that. Thinker says, love the sticks and the moss in the reference. Yeah, I do like the sticks and the moss and the reference. Gonna have to look at why I failed on that. Why it doesn't look exactly like that on my painting yet. So we have an example right there. It was mainly the drawing. I tend to make things too large. So all this needs to be more compact. Only barely come out. I had to come in all the way out and hitting here. It really kind of blends in on the reference. It's not too in your face. Yeah. That will be for the next stream. We'll continue working on this top right corner. It should still be pretty wet, just like yesterday's paint was. And I'll get those sticks figured out. It's up in that area where the center of interest is. So the main thing is to make it look okay, just okay, and not distract from the focal point. That's the main thing. So yeah, that's going to be the goal. If I can make it look great and not distract from the focal point, that's, a higher up goal. That's what we're going to be doing. So thanks guys for joining me. Thanks for the conversation. I'll check out that video that you were mentioned by Andrew Tischler, Thinker. And I will see you tomorrow.